Appreciate it, man.
I've got nobody entered my Zoom at this time.
Okay. You good?
Yeah.
All right, welcome to the Village of Horseheads Board of Trustees meeting. The date is Monday, January 8th, 2024. The time is 7:01 p.m. This meeting is being live streamed via Zoom, which can be accessed via the village's website at horseheads.org. And also, this meeting is being recorded for potential posting to adhere to the New York State Committee of Open Governance. Please call the roll for attendance.
Deputy Mayor Goodwin.
Here.
Trustee Gross.
Here.
Trustee Crodman.
Here.
Trustee Cronin.
Here.
Mayor Adams.
Here. Thank you, Rachel. Please stand and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You want to give.
Yes.
Permission to.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's I just asked.
All right, first on the agenda is the approval of minutes for the Board of Trustees meeting of November and December and the Planning Board of October and November. Before we ask for a motion on that or a resolution, first going to say there was Trustee Skrosnick, you brought forth a clerical error that has been fixed, and I'll turn it over to John for the other.
With respect to the clerical error is the misidentification of a speaker who made a comment during the course of a meeting. So that speaker's been correctly identified. With respect to the other comment, it is a request by Trustee Scott Skrosnick that a comment that he made during the meeting be reflected in the minutes. That comment is not reflected in the minutes that have been prepared for that meeting. The comment that he would like requires your approval as trustees because it's not in the minutes now. The minutes aren't intended to be an exact verbatim reflection of events that transpired. People's comments may or may not be reflected in the minutes. But Trustee Skrosnick would like his comments reflected in the minute. Accordingly, if this board so chooses, those comments will be reflected in the minutes. If you do not so choose, the minutes will stand as corrected, but not reflecting the comment that he made.
I motion for the change. Any discussion? Second. Okay, call the vote.
May I ask
Mayor
one?
Goodwin,
Oh, yeah, sorry, Trustee.
May I ask for the comment?
if you turn to the last page on the minutes for packet from December 4th, the additions are in bold.
So right here was the comments I wanted added, when I asked about what business was occupying the storefront.
Okay,
It was a bracelet store, seems only.
I don't know, the audience, I'm sure they haven't seen it.
No, I think the audience has access to copies of the
This,
minutes, correct?
I don't know.
Should.
I'm sorry, what?
When it's put out.
Not today, no.
Okay.
The agenda is,
So let's read that in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Last page.
yes, ma'am.
The addition that's being asked to be put into the minutes is Trustee Skrosnick states, does code know what business is occupying the storefront? Code enforcement responds, it's a bracelet store. Trustee Skrosnick says is it same owner of the sticker shop there?
Thank you.
Any other discussion? If so, motion, please.
Roll call.
Roll call. Oh, good.
Deputy Mayor Goodwin.
Aye.
Trustee Gross.
Aye,
Trustee Skrosnick.
Aye.
Trustee Cronin.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye. To ensure we do not have to stop audience participation, now running a little late at 7:05 for the public hearing. Will, to not interrupt the public hearing, we will move audience participation to after the manager's report so that we can commence with the public hearing. So I now turn the meeting over to the village's attorney, John Groff, for the public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, I declare open a public hearing regarding an application for a special use permit regarding premises at 3312 South Main Street, Village of Horseheads. It's for site plan review and a special use permit regarding that property. The property is in a C3 zone. The C3 zone does allow for a greenhouse or nursery use upon special permit that's issued by the Board of Trustees after review and recommendation by the Village of Horseheads Planning Board. The operation is, as we understand it, for an indoor growing of cannabis products. This public hearing and this application is not a referendum on the merit or lack of merit of cannabis itself, cannabis operations, or anything having to do with cannabis directly. Those issues have been addressed by decisions made in Albany and elsewhere. So this is simply on the use of the property of the greenhouse operation. This is a public hearing. For those of you who may not be familiar with public hearings, this is not a question and answer session. It is a session where you, as the public, have an opportunity to express your views either in favor or opposition to the issuance of a special use permit to this board. The board is not expected to respond to any questions you have. The board is receiving information from you and also information from the applicant regarding the use of that property. And ultimately, the board will take information that's provided by you and others into consideration in making its final decision. So you'll be expected to limit your comments to 3 minutes. And there is no granting of your unused time to other individuals. That having been said, whoever wishes to speak either in favor or opposition to the issuance of the special use permit should come forward and state your name, address, and what your position is.
Question.
Yeah,
Can this meeting also be used to state other concerns not regarding to this?
this is a public hearing solely related to the application for the special use permit.
Why
So-
would I come to raise other concerns?
After this public hearing, there will be an audience participation session later on in this agenda, and you can address concerns at that time if you wish.
Thank you.
So, we do know that the applicant's represented by an attorney, so if you wish to come forward at any time you want, and yes,
You tell me where I'm going to.
right there at the podium, and that microphone would be wonderful. Thank you.
Evening, everyone. So my name is Attorney Matthew Pizzetti. I have the privilege of running the applicant here tonight on the special use permit. First and foremost, I just want to clarify that we understand that there was an incident at this quote unquote location a couple of weeks ago that had literally nothing to do with my client. My client is seeking a special use permit for the back of the building, not the front, not the side, just the back. He has cooperated with law enforcement. He's been involved every step of the way. It's also my understanding that code has now shut that other location attached to my client's building, not his client or his building, but the building that he's running. And they've now, I think, potentially even terminated the lease of that lease. They're seeking a special use permit. They're seeking to have a small 2-person grow operation in that area. As outlined by Attorney Groff, there are, it's a C3 zone under your code and your ordinances, which specifically allows for greenhouses and things like that, which with a special use permit. This is not a retail operation. They will not be having customers come in to buy and sell things. It is to grow the product. There's only going to be 2 people involved, the owners of the LLC, my clients. It's also a particular note to point out that with these types of applications, New York State is beginning to heavily regulate these, meaning they will be subject to licensing through the state where they will have to come and actually view the premises. There'll be alarm requirements, security measures, cameras, all sorts of that stuff will be required before they're allowed to begin an operation. Again, subject to the approval by this board. Going to be a securely ran business, given all of the requirements that New York State would need. Additionally, in talking with my clients, they'd be willing to meet with any member of the board, police agencies, anybody to discuss what further steps or measures they can take as well. Consumers of cannabis now in New York State, it's now legal. We're all aware of that. And everybody who decides or makes the decision to utilize that product should have a licensed product from a licensed grower or cultivator, stringent testing of that product, and safe products. That's kind of what we all want. It's kind of the same thing with alcohol. That's what they're seeking to do on a very minor scale. I understand that this isn't a question and answer session. What I will tell the board and everybody in this room and anybody going forward, if they have questions, give me a call. I'd be happy to sit down with anybody and answer anything and everything they have. At this point, we would just ask that serious consideration be given. And again, if anybody has any questions, including all the members of the community back here behind me, reach out to me. I'll hang around tonight. Let me know what information I can attempt to provide. With that, we would just ask, consider it. It is specifically outlined as a special use permit. And then again, I believe there was what was called the so-called sticker shop in the front of the store, and then something with a group of individuals on a very large scale, what sounded like a fist fight. That had literally nothing to do with my clients. Some of this stuff we understand has stigmas attached to it. We want to break those stigmas, and they want to operate this business in a safe and prudent manner, not only for themselves, but more importantly, for this community. So with that, we thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else care to speak? Any other comments?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is David Updike. I live at 3302 South Main Street, Horseheads, New York. My only concern is that you kind of call it a greenhouse, but what's the legal medical opinion on having marijuana there? Is there for growth? Now, there's a percentage of 5 to 7%, I understand, that are allergic to this, to smoking pot. But I don't know the effects of growing it, and it gets in the wind and gets out or whatever. I don't know that. But, and for this gentleman here, they had that party 2 weeks ago. It's a smoke shop there. It's New Year's Eve. They had outrageous number of policemen there. Now, my understanding, I don't know, I wasn't there at the time. My understanding was that there was a gentleman beating the hell out of a woman in the middle of Main Street, and kids under the age of 13 running around at 2 in the morning. Now this, like I said, mostly is hearsay because I wasn't at the spot at the time. And the reason with this marijuana being grown, if there's any kind of medical hazards to the community for growing it, is because my daughter falls in the 5 to 7% allergic. She does not live with me, but she visits me. And if it's gonna be a concern, and I'm concerned. Now, everything I got your fax from when you sent it to me, and I got a hold of my daughter's doctor and never received it. I will fax it to you and my lawyers when the time comes and it has to be done. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. Anyone else care to speak?
name is Jerry Marinas. I live at 531 Watkins Road. Obviously, I'm a couple miles from where all this is gonna take place, but I felt the need to come and address the board here. My wife and I moved to the village roughly 40 years ago. We've been tax-paying citizens since 1986, own our own home here in Watkins Road. And when we moved here, we were looking for a safe place to raise a family. And it has been a safe place. And as you all know, I mean, you guys make up the budget, we pay a premium to live here in the village. Matter of fact, this past year, my personal tax bill went up 23% here for the village of Horseheads. So I'll let you know right off the get-go here, I'm adamantly opposed to this pot farm. There's residents that are within 100 feet of this building. I measured it out on Google Maps. And, you know, why this board would even consider this kind of activity is beyond me, by the way. But I would just ask each one of you, you want this next to your house? And I think the answer would be no. So do the right thing and find another place for it. Thank you.
Amen.
Hi, my name is Don Freese. I live at 3304 South Main Street. My biggest concern would be, you may be bringing a bunch of criminals in here to do smash and grab. They know it's a marijuana growing place. What's gonna stop them from smashing in, take the stuff and leave? You know, we've got enough trouble around without having something like this around here. I know a lot of the marijuana shops get broken in a lot. I know one for a fact that's been broken in about 5 different times, never calls the cops. He doesn't want the cops involved, but he has been busted in. They're always stealing stuff from him, so he just doesn't want the police involved. So with that said, you know, we don't need all the hoodlums coming around here because people are gonna know that's there. It's not gonna stop the criminals from breaking in. What's to say they're gonna break in the neighbors' houses and stuff around? You know, 'cause that's a big thing. Smash and grab, they can do that so fast before the cops can even get in there or somebody can call them. So that's the biggest concern I have.
Thank you. Any other comments?
My name is Lisa Lance. I am the property owner of where that lovely little party was. That was unauthorized. They had no permission and are completely separate from what the people in the back of the building are trying to do. I know a lot of people are against marijuana. I'm not necessarily for it. But there's also a medical need for it for some people who can't take all the pills. And if you looked where this is in the building, there's 3 separate retail locations. He has the most secure place where to go. There's no windows, there's no way to get in, it's all steel doors. And there are cameras going to be inside, outside, alarm system, so nobody's going to be. And if it worked for this public hearing, nobody would ever know that he was even there. So that is drawing attention to it too. Now, as for the guy out front, there will but not be any more of those people in the building or surrounding area by us. So that's something you don't have to worry about either. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Can I jump up again?
Not until everyone else is finished.
I got 30 seconds left.
Anyone else have any comments? Anyone else want to say anything in favor or opposition?
Sure. So, my name's Bryson Clark. I have a business on Lake Road, in the village. I also grown up here my whole life.
For starters, by the context of greenhouse and or nursery, most people would envision being able to see it. Nobody's gonna see this. You're not even gonna know it's there. It's not an end user facility whatsoever. And as to people being allergic, it's more likely like being allergic to a food because of the pesticide or some of the other junk that was on it. Right? No one's, yeah, it's like the state is gonna be so far up these people's asses. Yes, I do.
You got paperwork for that?
Do you have paperwork?
I got paperwork for my.
Excuse me, this is not a comment session between you guys. Your comments are to be addressed. Your comments are to be addressed to the board.
I just.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm all set. But the state's gonna be so far up their butt, it's not even gonna be fun for them.
Thank you.
Hi, Mary Beth Jansen. I live in Matthews Circle in Horseheads. I've been a Horseheads resident all my life. I'm opposed to it. I had a brother who was very ill and was a Horseheads teacher, health teacher. He was recommended by several doctors to use marijuana for treatment, and he totally refused it. Saying that he had been a health teacher, he knows the effects on the body. It's nothing good for our community as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you. Any further comments?
I'm Kim Seymour, I live on the South Ave in Horseheads. I don't know anything about their business plan or what all their business intentions are. I think a lot of
Excuse
concern.
me,
of
can
the
they
people
speak
who
up a
are-
little bit? I know I can't hear it. I don't know about you people in the back. Could you speak a little louder, please?
I'll try.
Thank you.
I think a lot of the concerns of the people who are living close to this area is what could potentially happen. That area has been kind of known to be a troubled area. I've been to board meetings where the residents have come and asked for help for the occupants of the hotel. Recently there was the brawl. There's been activities that have taken place in that particular area that I think makes a lot of the residents very leery of what this business could bring. And if there was some way of somebody alleviating all of our worries and stuff, maybe people would feel better about it, but until that happens, I'm not sure everybody's gonna really feel comfortable with this type of business in their backyard. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments? There being none? Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if you gentlemen know that, but that gentleman there, is Don Freeze. And in the last 3 years, he's got cameras at his house as well as I do. And the police have stopped at his house a number of times. And they've gotten, in my recollection, is 5 out of 8 burglaries that have gone in there in the last 3 years. Now, I've had assisted in one, or should I say more, but it used to be a very comfortable area to live in. Not to worry, you're always gonna have it, I understand that. But it's, as of the last 3 years or so, it's growing a little bit more. And with this pot place coming in, I think we're fearing a little bit more than that.
Thank you. There being no further comments, I declare this public hearing closed and turn the meeting back over to Mayor Adams. Thanks so very much.
Thank you, Attorney Groff. Before we get into next is the discussion and possible action of the special use permit. Before discussion occurs, I'm gonna turn it over to Attorney Groff to address the board.
In the course of examining the file, it appears to me that as far as the planning board's review of this application is concerned, that they failed to meet the procedural requirements of section 245. Let me be specific. 245, 121B, item A through 1. Where they're supposed to address certain concerns and report back to you as a board with respect to their recommendation. Because of that failure, I am recommending to this board that the application be referred back to the planning board for reconsideration so that they can specifically address those issues that are part of the preliminary review process. So that is my recommendation to you.
So,
If you consider it, there is a motion that's available from Rachel along those lines.
The other discussion point that I do want to put into record, to respect to you, Attorney Bezzetti, is I do believe you quoted same location, and it was spoken to numerous times about the brawl, the incident, and how it was or was not related to this operation. But it is related in the sense that it is the same location. We do not have all the information. We do not have the full investigation of that. And it, in my opinion, would be premature, as well as the concerns that have been issued by Attorney Groff. It would be premature to have a vote on this without hearing the correct procedure that the planning board must go through, which we will address why the planning board did not do the full investigation. In conjunction with, I would not feel comfortable without getting the full investigation from police authorities that, albeit might not be related, it is in the sense of where it happened. So that's why I'm in favor of tabling this special use.
Yep, I also agree, so I'll make a motion that we table this matter until it's further investigated by the planning board. Correct.
Yep.
There's a resolution.
Trustee Gross.
And, Rachel, can you please read that resolution?
Whereas Lance Holdings LLC has applied for a special use permit pursuant to chapter 245, article 19 of the village code pertaining to property commonly known as 3312 South Main Street, Village of Horseheads, New York. Where it is unclear that the Village of Horseheads Planning Board, in its review of the application, took into consideration the factors noted in section 245-120B2A through I. Now therefore be it resolved that this board does hereby refer the application back to the planning board for its reconsideration with particular emphasis on the above noted concerns.
so moved.
Before you vote on it, I should note that the applicant has granted this board an extension of time to continue its consideration until your February meeting. Your zoning law requires action within 62 days of a determination that the application is complete. Because of the planning board deficiency, I requested them to grant a waiver of that timeline. They graciously granted that waiver to this board. And I thought you should know about that before you voted. So you can call the roll.
Second.
Deputy Mayor Goodwin.
Aye.
Trustee Gross.
Aye.
Trustee Strasnick.
Aye.
Trustee Cronin.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye. Thank you. Before we move on, I'm going to use my first real meeting card to address everybody here in the room on Zoom, and we will be broadcasting and posting this. I want to say to everybody, we are your voice. We will be making the vote. You did elect us. There are 30 days-ish between here and the next meeting. All of our information is online. We are accessible, all 5 of us. Access us. You have questions, it's our responsibility to get you answers, and that is our job. Call us, email us. You can do it here at the village. Our phone numbers are on horseheads.org. Access us. We will find the answers that you want, and we, through your questions, will be better informed too when we do have to cast the vote. Okay.
You can vote on participation now.
We'll move that to after managers. Move on to,
All the way to the bottom.
yep, all the way to the bottom. All right. Up next, mayor's report. Okay, so I have this is new to the agenda as I am new to the board. We are putting on a mayor's report as I see that there are direct things that I will be doing or champion through to make the village better as a platform in which I ran on. So number one, and please, this is meant for discussion for the trustees. I am asking for the village website transitioning from a .org to a .gov. The trustees, you guys were all sent a letter from me stating the benefits of moving to a .gov. One of the other things that I wanted to bring up, we are looking at what I am proposing for the new website name would be villageofhorseheads.gov. Most .govs need to have a state delineation so that any other township, village, city wouldn't have a duplicate with the .gov across the United States. But some good news for Horseheads. City and county names that are not duplicative of any other city, county, parish, town, bureau, village, or equivalent elsewhere in the country at the time of issuance can be registered without needing the reference of its origin. This will be determined by using the Census Bureau National Places Gazetteer file. I am happy to announce there is only one Horseheads, New York. There are 3 Horsehead, which is a horrible name for a town, but the proper name being Horseheads is the only one in the United States. So by delineating, by using that, I will ask to being applying for the village of Horseheads.gov. So with that being said, does the trustees have any discussion, questions, comments?
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
Thank you. Next, some of us, as I mentioned at the opening of the meeting, is the recording of the public session and post to YouTube. As I stated in my organizational meeting, it is my vision that the village of Horseheads does not have a goal of open and transparency. It will be the standard. To do that, the committee, New York State Committee of Open Governance, says if we are live streaming, which we're doing now on Zoom, that the municipality has the responsibility to post the live stream within 5 business days. The other advantage to this is that Open Governance has ruled that by doing so, it alleviates the requirement for the municipality to have to post draft minutes within 2 weeks of the meeting. And so there's advantage 1, and advantage 2 is it's an unedited post. So what happens here can be fully sought and saw by everybody in the public. A couple things. There is no cost to the village as we are recording this with village technology, and posting to YouTube is free, and that YouTube channel owned by the village and not one human being specifically owned by the village will be linked to horseheads.org soon, hopefully villageofhorseheads.gov. So any questions, comments, concerns from the trustees on that?
I also agree.
I agree also.
Okay, next, moving the Board of Trustee meetings along with day and frequency. Starting in March, I would like to move our meetings from Mondays back to a Thursday. Firstly, what we're doing right now with meetings being on a Monday night is not interrupting our court schedule, as we do have court on Mondays. The resumption of court can occur starting in March, and that I believe the Board of Trustees, we should be making sure that we can work and for the facilitation of other village functions. The other thing, it avoids conflicts with county legislative meetings. I cannot attend and represent us at a county level when we're here. So, and as of tonight, the county's having a budget meeting that would not even be possible for us to attend. Another exciting bit of news is that I have reached out to our 3rd District County legislator, Tom Sweet, and he is also committed to coming back to our meetings so that we have county representation from our county and that we can ask questions from our county and have a more informed and better Board of Trustee meeting. So from that point, do we have any objections moving the meeting from a Monday back to Thursday, starting in March?
No objection.
No,
No.
Next, in an effort to, couple reasons, the next thing I propose is that we're going to move the meeting from 7 PM to 6 PM. This is an attempt to increase attendance. Clearly, sometimes we don't have more popular public hearings. So in an effort to make sure that all meetings are this well attended, I am asking that we give a try for 6 PM. I think this is a win-win situation. As village, there is a considerable amount of village personnel that go into facilitating our Board of Trustees meeting. And this is more convenient for them. That's a secondary concern of mine to the ability that we should at least give this a trial period to see if more people can attend at a 6 PM timeframe than a 7 PM timeframe. Do we have any discussion?
No objection.
No objection, Matt.
Thank you. Next is the frequency of the meetings. Starting after budget season, I would like to resume a second meeting a month. As I've stated to all the departments that I met with, as I said on the campaign trail, and as I've said here, it is my vision that the Board of Trustees is a board of what? And in a village manager form of government, we have the infrastructure for the manager and his staff to be the how. The what, in my opinion, over the past years has been lacking. What do I mean by that? Through asking for strategic vision of our departments, of our functions, of what we want to do to make the village a better place, that needs to be an issue of the Board of Trustees. That what, it also comes with the responsibility of the Board of Trustees to make sure that the how is being correctly done. I do not see in past sessions about the frequency of presentations from various departments to tell the public, but also to let us know about how various items and strategic goals are being the what. Also, I don't believe that meeting once a month is sufficient when we start bringing on, or what I would like to is start bringing on committees. As I said in my last meeting, I'm tasking our deputy mayor with starting business roundtable discussions. These are committee reports that need to be fielded by trustee members who are on the committees, by various residents who we would like to engage in various solutions for the village. And to add that on to what I already see as a packed agenda once a month is irresponsible. And that's just my opinion. And I would like to see if we could remedy that by trying to have meetings on a semi-monthly basis. Any discussion from the trustees?
Are you looking at which first and third, second and fourth, first and fourth?
Yes, first and third. We would still
First and
continue.
third.
We would move that Monday over to a Thursday, and then we would continue with Thursdays for first and third Thursdays.
Okay. Just from a historical standpoint, we were second and fourth
Okay.
prior to changing to Mondays.
If the trustees or the public want, I don't see it as any big
It's
difference.
not a difference, it's just a matter of what we want to
If
do.
you, there again, you guys have, all of you have more experience than I will ever have. So if you guys also want to see second and fourth Thursday, I'm not opposed to that either.
First and third work.
I'm good with that. Mayor, as you and I have spoken on the phone at great length, the majority of our work at this table, including these guys and whatnot, is done outside of this board meeting.
Mhm.
Over the last 10 months, the calculation comes out to our board meetings on average are an hour and 13 minutes. So some meetings have been 34 minutes, some have been 37. The longest one was actually December 2023, which was 2 hours and 34 minutes, which actually skews that number. So our meetings in general now are on, without that one meeting, just like we're gonna have this meeting now is gonna be a lengthy meeting, will be, 2.5 hours and whatnot. As far as time frame goes, that really puts us under an hour for the one. I'm not opposed to the two, especially in all honesty, for this type of thing that we talked about tonight with the cannabis cultivation place. If we had a second meeting, maybe that would have worked for this specific type thing. There are things where we can add a special meeting as long as we give the proper amount of time frame, as opposed to anything else. My thought process, as I mentioned very clearly, was if we want to bring them in departments, we can do that and still do them at those meetings and still end up under an hour and a half to 2 hour meeting on any given Thursday or whatever that might be. I mentioned that. The other thought process was, and I think you helped answer one, if that works as far as minutes go, by live streaming things for the offices here, for the employees here, along with the village manager, the time frame that it takes to put together these minutes and all these things he's doubling it. And I think we're losing a half a day to a full day, having to do that twice a month instead of once a month. And that specific thing. And on top of that, obviously, we're hiring a position as an assistant to the village manager. And people don't want to work nights. I mean, when you get into the New York State retirement, that's what you're coming for. It's when you work for a municipality. And again, I mentioned this, you're talking about New York State retirement and insurance. That's why most people come to this type of place, or school teachers or corrections or anything along those lines within the county and whatever else. Those are just some of my thought processes. Just again, not just as an add to, as a pro or a con type thing. It doesn't necessarily matter to me whether we go to two time or, twice a month or not. I would, based on those numbers and what my thought process is, as I mentioned to you, I see it as not we have problems filling one. I see it as we would have problems filling 2 meetings a month, even with department heads coming in. As we know, we did 11 budget meetings. Okay, and that's from February 27th to April, I think it was April 13th. We did 11 budget meetings. So that's not included in any of this stuff that we're talking about, because we were doing 2, sometimes, 3 within a calendar week. But that's, 11 meetings there. I don't care about the meetings, but that's when we typically meet with our department heads. And that would be one time at least for each department. And now we're through, February, March, April, as far as those timeframes. So just my thoughts and opinions on that. Obviously, whatever it comes out to be, I'm good with, but I just wanted to mention that with the average being an hour and 13 minutes. Right now, that includes a 2.5 hour meeting that we had in there.
I will, and if just a little bit, but years ago, what we did is each one of the trustees took a department and really reported on, their responsibility was to talk to the employees, all of them. If they were there, the people in the water department, because you don't want to just talk to the department head, because sometimes you don't get all the information and what's really going on. So I think it's a good idea if we maybe have one person for each department to be able to go in to talk to them and know that what they say is confidential, but can be is from where it's coming from, but that there is a concern.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I think that was the direction the mayor was trying to go anyway with certain things. I see that as an extra 10 minutes per meeting. Because we talk it at the end of every meeting anyway in our roundtable. So maybe it's an extra 3 minutes. I mean, I'm not sure how much you can say every month.
There's not something to say every month, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
I mean, that's what I'm alluding to as far as the
Right.
time frame. as I mentioned to the mayor, I don't want to struggle to fill a meeting just for the sake of having a meeting. I've been very clear and open about that.
That too, Mark, you and I talked on the phone. I wanna make sure the second meeting, we're just not trying to fill an agenda. Cause we're all very busy. I'm happy to come to 4 meetings a month, but I just wanna make sure we're not trying to fill a meeting, right? And we've
Yeah,
never done that before, but I just wanna make sure, you know.
Yeah, I mean, because the department heads can come to these meetings, whether it's the first or the third. And if they came to both, a different department head at each of those, you're done after a month and a half, and then you wait another 3 months for another month and a half to be done. And the other thing I mentioned is before we went to 1 meeting a month, in the months of July and August, at least July and August, there might have been other months, connected in there for the summer months, we went down to 1 meeting anyway. So starting March, if we're starting in March, we do that, April, May, maybe June is 1, July is 1, August is 1, then back to 2. But again, I mean, when you're just coming off doing 11 budget meetings, and again, I'll be honest, it's not a time frame thing for me. I'm fine with whatever time frame it is, but I want to make sure we're not essentially filling the gaps when they easily could come to this meeting. And if it's a 2-hour meeting, which I'm confident it would not be unless there was a major issue. We have a lot of issues with our water infrastructure. That's a long meeting. It should be. But until we get grant money, and I know I talked to the village manager today about the upcoming grant seminars that is going to be put on the Steele Memorial Library next week, or which I plan to attend, and I know he does as well. But I mean, we as a village need grant money. We've all heard about the taxes. We all pay it. I can get into what my taxes went up significantly. That was based on an assessment because our tax rate stayed the same, but.
Trustee Cronin, I just want to say we were talking just about the frequency of meetings and not about.
But I mean, those are certain things that can lengthen meetings and fill within those things.
And just to hit a couple things. You said, Trustee Cronin, that it's an hour and 13 minutes is our average meeting. I agree. And I think that was one of the major reasons why I ran, is because of the lack of substance that has been happening at the Board of Trustee meetings. One of the things that I hear, and there again, I want to just say this so I understand the concerns of the trustees, is that there's a lot of concern about making sure there's enough to talk about. I believe, there again, instead of that being a concern, that we fill our agendas, is that we work as a board to make sure that there is no other option but to meet twice a month, to make sure that we are doing our job. For when I do go out and campaign, there are numerous concerns that the village residents have, and to make sure that we are addressing them. And I don't see how that couldn't be done without doing it twice a month. And I think if the worry transitions from making sure we have enough to do to that we're doing the enough amount of work for the residents, it kind of naturally answers that question. To the doubling of the work, Trustee Cronin, I do disagree with that. I think the fixed amount of work to put on an agenda is setting a date and putting that top part on the agenda. But as far as us discussing issues, whether those minutes are taken in 1 meeting or the next meeting, it's still, hopefully, if we're doing the right amount of work for the residents, that's still being discussed. Whether if it's 1 3-hour meeting or 2 1.5 hour meetings, the extra work being done for that second meeting, that's not much at all. That's a very small fixed amount. The variable amount is how much we talk about and discuss for resolutions. You said, you made the comment, meet with department heads at the budget meeting. I believe that's a big misstep that the board has been taking. I believe meeting with department heads once at the beginning of the year to figure out what they need and what they want to have, and then not coming back to them for a whole nother year, is not properly tracking the how, but also not deciding what the what is. The Trustee Gross, I appreciate and I yield to your experience, hopefully more than what I need to, but I'm gonna keep yielding to your experience, Pat. But one of the things is that I just my opinion, that I have a problem with trustees coming in to the department to ask how the daily operations go, is that it's a lack of foresight as far as what we should be doing strategically, such as this. We talk about the water issue. To go in and talk to our employees is a very valuable stakeholder organization. We, as the board, have to be at a 30,000 foot watch. The trust, the executive branch is at that 10,000 foot area doing the day-to-day operation. I believe, as Deputy Mayor Goodwin states, we have busy lives, but more importantly than our busy lives is us allocating our valuable time to make sure that we're looking at the issues for the residents. That, to me, comes in potential committees, such as safety committee, a capital committee, capital improvement committee, an ethics committee, things that we talk about village-wide, not department specific, but as board of trustees, we look at things in a village-wide and not a specific department. That's just my 2 cents, and I'll leave it to the other trustees to vote if they want to try and do 2 meetings a month.
Oh, I believe I haven't said anything.
No, you haven't, trustee Scresta.
So what I believe is what we're witnessing is something I have longed for a very, very long time. We are witnessing a very proactive administration. I think it's time that we implement, so far, everything that I've heard, including the 2 times a meeting, a month, and also the time 6 PM. I think it's gonna take a little, maybe a few weeks, maybe a few months, maybe a couple of years to acclimate to the new proactive administration style that we're seeing tonight. But I think it's a very positive move. And so I would agree with the 2 times a month. If it's the first and the third, the second and the fourth, it doesn't matter to me. 6 PM, I think we work well for not only others sitting at the table, but mostly the employees and also the residents. So I also agree.
I agree. In fact, when I first came on the board 1,000 years ago, we met twice a month. Shut up, Kevin.
Yes, ma'am.
No, never mind.
Yes, ma'am.
But we met twice a month and things went, and we had manager then, and the manager kept us informed, but it also gave us a chance as a board to discuss what was going on. And sometimes when you're only doing it once a month, by the time it gets to be 9:30, 10 o'clock, go away. So I think it's a good opportunity for us to try it again.
I think it's a great idea. I've been on the board 9 years. When I joined, we met twice a month.
Yeah,
It felt like 4 times a month, which is fantastic. We want to give back. That's why you elected us.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I think just to make sure we have it in writing, I will suggest that we do the first and the third Thursday of the month, just to keep it going on to that. Good news for everybody in attendance. My last piece that I'm asking, I will not pretend to issue resolutions as that's far above my capability. But as you may or may not know, after my initial swearing in on May 4th, I'm going back in time. On December 4th, I met with every single department for the next 3 days after that. One of those departments was our fire. I went to their drill on that day after I was sworn in. And I had a very interesting, frank, and raw conversation with them. And I thank them for their honesty, and for everybody thanks firefighters for what they do. And just as an aside, my protege at my first job said there's 2 types of people in this world: people who run into burning buildings and people who run out. I want to make it very clear to village residents, I'm one of those people who run out of burning building. So I'm even more grateful for the people who run into burning buildings. I digress. One of the things that really struck me that needed attention immediately, so much so that I'm bringing it to the trustees on my first full meeting, is the infrastructure neglect at the fire hall. Roof leakage, corner of the building crumbling. For this point, I'm going to turn it over to Manager Nagel to give more details of those two items.
So in the past, we've done a couple of studies. One is, the roof does need to be replaced. There are issues with, two of the walls, and then we've got one bay, that, does not hold the weight of the current fire trucks. Okay, so there is infrastructure issues. On top of that, we are recruiting more female firefighters, to which we do not have a female locker room. So that needs to be looked at as well, along with some ADA items. So really what we're asking at this point is to do a study, regarding the fire station. This type of a study would be necessary, and it would be additional information for conversations regarding the fire district. So for two things. One, if the fire district is not a go and we keep the fire department as a village operation, we would now have dollar figures to discuss within the budget for what those renovations may be. Okay, or what the possibilities of repair may or may not be. Okay, the other side of it is that the district would then know what they're getting into should they take over the district and we give or sell the building to them, that they know what is in place as well in that regard. Okay. I'm going to continue.
Yeah,
Okay. So
I'll take a break.
So with that, basically what we're talking about is doing a study. Okay. We've got a resolution tonight for you to give me the directive and authorization to seek out engineers to do such a study, for me to report back to you as to what that study is going to cost. This is a non-budgeted item. And so the conversation when I come back would be, do we want to put this in the 25 budget? Or do we want the study prior to then and take the money out of existing funds, out of the 24 budget? At this time, I couldn't imagine, or I can't even give you a guess as to what such a study would cost.
I would think you want it prior to 25, because if the fire district moves ahead, we want to have that information.
But, and those conversations are still taking place. And I don't know personally where we are in those district conversations.
Well, how far away do you think we are from them? You don't have any idea?
I don't.
Because if you've got a roof leaking and a floor that could fall in, I don't
Who
think we
cares?
can wait.
Yeah.
It's still a village property, so I mean, I know we've talked about this before, and you can even say I'll say shame on me instead of everyone else, because we didn't get truly in detail. It's a village property. I'm not sure why we would spend money on a study, get a contractor and find out how much it is to fix this wall and fix that roof and do these other things, and at least do a generic per se price point, as opposed to spending $10,000 or $15,000. I don't know if that's possible or feasible. I've heard about the corner leak and the roof or whatever, but I'm not sure that that's something that can be done or not.
Well, and I don't think personally, there's anybody in this room that would not support that fire department. Because when that bell rings, they're there immediately, and we're very, very fortunate.
The other thing that I want to make sure that I communicate to the residents on why I'm asking for an engineering study versus just getting proposals for certain facets of the building to be repaired, is that we're not just asking here to fix a foundation or fix a roof. You're talking about fundamental building problems. You don't have a female locker room. You don't have ADA compliance. To be able to bring in a contractor from, say, a roofing company and just ask for an estimate, that would be good for the roof and would look only specifically at the roof. Then we would bring in someone for the foundation and they would give us information only about the foundation. We must look and make sure that we're addressing all the concerns at once and having a strategic vision on making sure that when we touch that building, we touch it once and we walk away with satisfying many problems that has arisen over the years of neglect that has done that. The best way about going about that is with an engineering study, in my opinion, an engineering study to make sure we see everything for what it is
And do it right.
and do it right.
Okay, all right, so, yeah, I think that after being informed about a safety issue, let's think about it's one of our houses, right? What are we gonna do? We're not gonna sit on it, so I think that if there's money to be moved to help for a study, then I think that it needs to be done.
We have a resolution on this.
Second.
Sure,
Can we read it?
sure.
Thank you, Attorney Roth.
Whereas based upon certain informal reports and inspections, there is reason to believe that the Village of Horseheads Fire Station may have structural and other deficiencies. Now therefore be it resolved, the village manager Nathan Nagel is hereby authorized to consult with qualified engineering firms, solicit proposals for a structural study of the fire station as soon as it's practical, and report back to this board with respect to his findings.
So moved. Second.
We have a roll call vote.
Deputy Mayor Goodwin.
Aye.
Trustee Gross.
Aye.
Trustee Skrosnick.
Aye.
Trustee Cronin.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye. Great news. That completes my mayoral report. Now we move on to NISDOT Shared Service Agreement Renewal. And I am happy to say, Manager Nagel, please take it away.
So this is just what it is. It's a renewal to the agreement that we currently have with New York State as far as the Department of Transportation. Each municipality has a similar agreement to it. There's no changes in the structure to the agreement. It's basically formalizing the shared services that we already do.
Any discussion?
None.
We have a motion. Motion.
Second.
Oh, we have to read a resolution. I'm learning about this, guys. I'm sorry. Resolution, please.
Whereas the village has a history of shared service agreements with New York State Department of Transportation beginning in 2015 to share, exchange, or lend materials and equipment for maintenance of state and municipal roads and highways, which would be available in circumstances other than a governor's emergency declaration. And whereas on April 30th, 2023, the most recent agreement expired. And whereas the objective of the agreement is to have in place an open shared service agreement in the event of an emergency to facilitate immediate response without delay. And whereas village manager Nathan Nagel and director of public works Don Gaylord have recommended to this board that the village renew this shared service agreement with New York State DOT. And whereas the agreement is for services valued in an amount not exceeding $25,000 and is for a term of 4 years, retroactive to April 30th, 2023. Now therefore be it resolved that village manager Nathan Nagel is authorized and directed to enter into the agreement on behalf of the village of Horseheads, and be it further resolved that a copy of the agreement shall be placed on file with the village clerk.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Goodwin.
Aye.
Trustee Gross.
Aye.
Trustee Skrosnick.
Aye.
Trustee Cronin.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye. Next, the draft local law on signage. I'm gonna turn this for description over to Manager Nagel and Attorney Groff.
Go ahead, John. Mayor and board, we have been drafting, as you know, an update to the existing sign law for probably a couple of years at this point. We've acquired a lot of information from other municipalities, incorporated that information into a recent draft. So about a month and a half or 2 months ago, we had a special meeting where the sole subject of that meeting was the then draft of the sign law. It was the initiative for that sign law was planning board review and comments. At this board's direction, we added some additional definitions to the then draft of the sign law. Those definitions being the fact lewd and obscene. So those terms have been incorporated into the latest draft. If there are additional comments that this board has, we would certainly want to incorporate them in the document. If there aren't any, and you want to proceed with the consideration of enacting the draft sign law, it would be appropriate for you to consider scheduling a public hearing at an upcoming meeting. But I'd be happy to entertain any further comments or questions you might have at this time.
Comments or questions?
At this time, I'd like to read over the most recent drafts and then bring it back.
What you have is, the black version is, the version accepting all of the changes. If you would like to see what's called a red line version, it is one that shows you the black in that version would be pretty much the existing sign law that the village has, and the red in that version would be, or any other color, would be changes that have been made to it. But in the document that's in your materials, we removed the color and accepted all of the changes that you saw previously.
Do we want to set a public hearing or do we want to just wait and set a public? We do know that the manager has the authority to set a public hearing at a different time. Do we want to just hold off right now? Do we want to set a public hearing? What do the trustees feel is best?
Set it.
Yeah, I agree, set up.
It's been years and these guys put a lot of work into this stuff with code enforcement and village manager and attorney. A lot of hours.
So let's settle. February 12th.
All right, so we will set it for February 12th.
In the meantime, if there's any revision or comment concerns, we can just
Absolutely.
email you prior to that.
Yes.
And I would ask all the trustees to just carbon copy all the other trustees and mayor and everybody on that, so we're all learning together. If anyone else has some comments, questions, or concerns. We don't have a resolution then, or we're good to move on, or?
They can set the public hearing and you will.
And we actually have a resolution.
Okay, well, then,
Well, let's hear it.
Whereas this board is in receipt of a proposed local law entitled signs. Now therefore be it resolved that a public hearing is hereby scheduled for Monday, February 12th, 2024 at 7:05 p.m. regarding the proposed local law signs. Be it further resolved that this public hearing will be both in person at Village Hall, 202 South Main Street, and on the virtual application.
So, I'll second.
Roll call.
aye.
Trustee Brooks,
Aye.
trustee Strasman.
Aye.
Trustee Cronin.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye. Next is transfer of funds.
It's good to read it.
Yeah.
This is one of several transfers that you'll see between now and the end of the budget year. The largest transfer, or the transfer that I'm gonna equate to most importance is, we're gonna be taking monies out of the contingency and putting them into fire equipment. That transfer is being made for the purchase of a gear washer. In case we do not receive the grant for this gear washer. The grant has a deadline of this Friday. That grant will be submitted. If we are not awarded the grant, then the transfer is already made to where it can be an outright purchase for the washer. In addition to that, if the grant is a reimbursable grant, the monies are now transferred to where that gear washer can be purchased and then be reimbursed by the grant. So the reason I'm asking for it now is so that process has already taken place and over with. So we do not need to do it at a later date for that gear washer. Okay,
You said it was the largest transfer thus far?
well, that's most important in regards to that. We've got several other high dollar transfers. Most of those are in the contractual, where we've moved monies from the contingency of both the general fund and the water fund for the retro pay to the union contract that was agreed upon.
Okay, just to be clear, so everyone understands the severity of the fire department and the equipment that they use, how much is the transfer for the,
The gear washer is around 5,900,
so close to 6,000?
6,000, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the transfer list? Also, part of that retro was also moving the monies ahead for the remaining of the budget year for that negotiated contract as well.
There's no action that has to be taken on that, right?
There is for
There is
the
that.
transfer.
Yeah, there's a resolution.
Yep.
All right.
Be it resolved that the clerk treasurer is hereby obligated to the funds listed on the attached sheet.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Goodman.
Aye.
Trustee Gross.
Aye.
Trustee Sprockman.
All right,
Trustee Cronin.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye. Next is the authorized to attend NICOM conference for the mayor and manager.
This is the winter legislative meetings offered by NICOM. At this particular meeting, they talk about the state budget in regards to what is on their agendas. It also gives NICOM a sense from the municipalities of what they wish to see NICOM push for us in the Albany offices as well. For the mayor, this would be his first NICOM session, and along with everything else, it's very educational from the elected officials' standpoint to hear not only what other municipalities are doing, but what elected officials should or should not be doing as well. So it is an educational piece throughout. And again, NICOM conferences is what we have attended. We attend at least 3 NICOM conferences a year, this being one of them, the spring session, and then the fall session. So our resolution is for the registration fee as well as lodging for the NICOM. And the meals are included in the registration fee.
Any discussion? Resolution?
Be resolved that Mayor Kevin Adams and village manager Nathan Nagel are hereby authorized to attend the New York State Conference of Mayors Winter Legislative Meeting, February 4th to the 6th, 2024 in Albany, New York, with all expenses paid as are allowed under section 77B of the general municipal law.
So moved.
Second.
do we have a price tag that goes with this?
Yes, I will have to get the. No.
Okay.
Lodging, it's 3 nights, it's a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, finish on Tuesday, so it's 2-night lodging. That was roughly like 180.
Just an approximate.
Yeah.
You know, this way, you know, it says all expenses paid, so I'm sure
That's
that,
fair.
It's around 1,700 for the two of us.
thank you. All right, we got a motion, you got a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Goodwin.
Aye.
Trustee Gross.
Aye.
Trustee Sprockman.
Aye.
Trustee Cronin.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye. We now move to section 11, County of Chemung items. To avoid the appearance of impropriety, I will be removing myself from the meeting for the next 2 agenda items. These items directly relate to the County of Chemung, my full-time employer. I will now turn the meeting over to Deputy Mayor Goodwin and ask for consideration to get me after the 2 resolutions are done, so that I don't miss the rest of the meeting.
We'll come and get you.
Thank you.
Agenda, item number 11 has 2, items. First one's letter of support, Catherine Valley Trail. And Attorney Groff or Nate, can you bring us up to speed?
Yeah, so the planning board with the county, they are working on a grant that will tie the Catherine Valley Trail to the Lackawanna Railroad Trail system. And so this is that middle gap between the 2 trail systems to which they would like the village to write a letter of support, supporting their grant efforts to connect those 2 trails. And so with that, there's only been a couple of meetings that I've been involved with in this project. With that is, that they have not been able to answer yet is the maintenance of those trails. This piece of the trail does come directly through the village. And so those are things that we want to consider. But for right now, it's strictly a letter of support for them to move forward in the grant writing process.
And I did walk the trail with Mary Adams
Right, and I think,
and the group.
and we I've been to a couple of meetings regarding the Catherine Valley Trail.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, and it looks like it's a very good project, especially, they're gonna keep it clean up supposedly, and it's gonna go all the way from Elmira, to Watkins?
Yes.
To Watkins Glen. So I think it's a very good project for people, I really do. I think it's gonna be a pretty trail, a nice trail to be on. A safe trail.
Do we have a resolution?
We do.
Okay. Do the trustees have any more questions?
I have one.
Whereas Chemung County residents and others benefit from the establishment and maintenance of trails in the county, Capitol Hill Trail on the north and Lackawanna Railroad Trail on the south. And whereas the combining of these two trails in the town and village of Horseheads would provide many benefits, including enhanced recreational opportunities, increased mobility and safety for cyclists and pedestrians. And whereas the county of Chemung intends to apply to the New York State Department of Transportation's Transportation Alternatives Program for a grant to combine these trails and has requested support in such an application. Now therefore be it resolved in the Village of Horseheads Board of Trustees does hereby confirm such support and authorizes and directs Village Manager Nathan Nagel to prepare a letter of such support and to forward same to the county and other appropriate parties as soon as practical.
So moved.
Second,
Could we have a roll call, Rachel, please?
Deputy Mayor Goodwin.
Aye.
Trustee Gross.
aye.
Trustee Trosnick.
Aye.
Trustee Cronin.
Aye.
Okay, agenda, number 11B would be grant application, ash tree management. Nate, could you bring us up to speed?
So this grant application, would be applied for by the planning department of the county on our behalf. We would like to apply, for this application along with the town of Horseheads. And essentially what it is, it's on, just as it says, it's an ash tree management, from the removal of ash trees to replanting of appropriate species of trees. The application allows for equipment to be purchased, both small and large, from chainsaws up through bucket trucks, stump grinders, etc. The ability to replace sidewalk of a tree that was removed, basically where the root system had created the damage. It wouldn't be the sidewalk from, property line to property line, but would be right where the tree root is. And so it actually, so what this is an application for ash trees, the mitigation of, replanting of equipment in coordination with the town of Horseheads that the county is going to write and administer on our behalf.
Okay.
Thank you, Manager Nagel. Any questions with the trustees? Okay, resolution, Rachel, please.
Whereas New York State DEC is accepting grant applications for urban and community forest projects through the Inflation Reduction Act. And whereas such funding was made available by the Department of Agriculture and Forest Services. And whereas this is a historic funding opportunity to improve the health of trees and green spaces in disadvantaged communities, improve urban land cover, and support New York State's aggressive climate requirements. And whereas this is a no-match grant, and whereas the Chemung County Planning Department has offered to assist the village in completion and submission of the grant application. And whereas grant applications are due by January 31st, 2024, and Village Manager Nagel has not had an opportunity to fully research all relevant aspects of the grant program. However, it appears to have initial merit. Now therefore be it resolved that Village Manager Nagel is authorized and directed to continue his research into the program, and upon his determination that participation in same would be in the best interest of the village, he is then authorized to submit the necessary grant application by the due date.
So moved.
Second,
And may we have roll call, Rachel, please?
Deputy Mayor Goodman.
Aye.
Trustee Gross.
aye.
Trustee Trosnick.
Aye.
Trustee Cronin.
Aye.
And now we'll turn the meeting back over to Mayor Adams.
Where is it?
I think that's the longest resolution this evening. Rachel. That's a full page.
All right, next is the thawing of hiring freeze for the Public Works Department. Turn this over to Manager Nagel.
So we're in a situation now where we have a open position in our water department. Okay. We have accepted applications. In that application process, we have a member of our streets department that is interested in that position. Should we choose to have that position filled by our current streets employee, that would create a position that would need to be filled in the street side of it. So rather than wait till February to go through the thawing process, what I'd like to do is thaw that position this evening, so that should we choose that particular individual to move from streets to the water department, we can then immediately start looking for a replacement in the streets department. So that's the only reason that we're doing it at this time. We don't know who we're going to hire yet. That decision we made within the next week to 2 weeks as we go through the other 3 or 4 applicants. But what I'm basically trying to do is be proactive and not wait until February to fill on the street side.
Perfect, fair enough.
Yes.
Any more discussion? Can we hear the resolution, please?
Whereas on December 13th, 2018, the Village of Horseheads Board of Trustees established a hiring freeze as to all full-time employee positions in the Village of Horseheads. And whereas such freeze may be lifted and rescinded at the discretion of this board. And whereas Village Manager Nathan Nagel has reported to this board that he is anticipating a vacancy in the Department of Public Works Street Department, and that the village has the need to hire a replacement equipment operator 1 or higher position. And whereas the vacancy will adversely affect the operations of the village if the position remains unfilled. Now therefore be it resolved that Village Manager Nathan Nagel is authorized and directed to take any and all reasonable steps necessary to hire an equipment operator 1 or higher position as soon as is practical.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Goodwin.
Aye.
Trustee Gross.
Aye.
Trustee Crosnick.
Aye.
Trustee Cronin.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye. Next is the authorized staffing agreement with Nesco, the manager's assistant position. Nate?
So this agreement is, entering into this agreement is working with our temp agency. This is the same temp agency that we use to fill the clerk's position. And so what we'd like to do is hire them once again to help through the venting process of the administrative assistant's position. What they will do is they will, go through all the applicants in the pool that they have. They will take a look at all the applicants that we have received through the sources that we have used. They will do the initial interview process, narrow that down for us to the final 2 to 3 that we would interview. And then we would hire them on a temporary basis to where Nesco, they would be an employee of Nesco. The benefits would be of Nesco. The pay would go through Nesco. And then at the end of a trial period, if you will, we could then turn that temporary employee into a full-time employee. So it's the same process that we used when we filled the clerk's position this past summer.
Did we retain that clerk after the temporary position was?
We did, yes. Yeah, she was an employee in the temporary side of it for 2 months. And then after 2 months, we said, this should work out, this will work out.
We hired her
Correct.
full-time.
We hired her full-time at that time, yes.
Wasn't there some talk about we're gonna change the title?
There is conversation that we're having of changing not so much the title, but the duties. To where right now we have a clerk treasurer. And some of the conversations that we'll have as we approach the budget season is splitting that position from clerk treasurer to a clerk. And then a second body as treasurer.
I see.
Any more discussion? Okay, resolution.
Whereas the position of village manager's assistant has become vacant and the village has authorized village manager Nathan Nagel to fill the position. And whereas the village has had success using Nesco resource in filling critical village positions not subject to civil service requirements. Now therefore be it resolved that village manager Nate Nagel is hereby authorized to enter into a staffing services agreement with Nesco Resource for the position of village manager's assistant, providing for a markup of 55%, markup rate of 55% with a variable direct hire conversion fee beginning at 22% of annual salary and concluding with 0% of annual salary after more than 181 days work.
So moved.
Second,
Question,
Question.
what's that come down to is dollar figures? Is that how I'm reading this? Is that the markup rate, 55% is gonna be due to Nesco for providing the service?
Correct, yeah, so the individual will be hired, at an hourly rate. And then the markup's 55%, but that's also on a scale. And what I mean by that is the longer that we keep the employee as a temporary, the lower that scale goes down, so they get their money, most of their money's up front. The break-even point is about 3 months.
Okay.
Where's Nesco out of? They local or?
It's a nationwide
It is, okay.
company, but there is a local branch.
I see.
We got a motion and we got a second,
Yep.
right?
Roll call.
Aye.
Trustee Gross.
aye,
Trustee Crosner.
Aye.
Trustee Cronin.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye. Moving on to item 14, contract with Fagan Engineers, service line inventory for lead and copper. Nate?
This agreement with Fagan Engineering is to assist us with our lead and copper inventory. As most of you are aware, the federal government, EPA, they would like an inventory of everybody's lead and copper within their water system by October of 2024. We have been working on this project for about 2 years. What this agreement does is it finalizes most of the pipes that we've not had a chance to get to. At the same time, it puts it in a format that is desired by the EPA, as well as some other studies that take place. Part of this lead and copper, and we will have much greater discussion as it comes along, but part of this is to determine what the services are going from the water main to the meter that is in the individual residents' homes. Okay, so at some point, we'll be reaching out to all of our water users to find out if they have a lead pipe going to the meter within their house. Okay, then after October of 2024, we will be getting information from the EPA to figure out how we're going to mitigate all this lead and copper, not only in the village of Horseheads, but throughout the country with people's water systems. Okay, and the biggest question is, where does that money come from? Nobody has that answer. Okay, but that lead and copper service would have to be replaced from the main to the shutoff, and then from the shutoff to the meter. Everybody knows from the shutoff to the meter is private property. Okay, so everybody's got the same questions that we do. We don't have answers, and the EPA has not given us answers on how we address the lead and copper from the shutoff to the meter. Okay, from the main to the shutoff will be our responsibility. Okay, if this parallels when a water break of one service between the shutoff to the meter, that parallels that means the resident will be responsible for changing out their lead and copper from the shutoff to the meter. Okay, and I know how that conversation is going to go when we send that letter to the resident to say, you have lead and copper on your inventory, you now get the expense of replacing that. Oh, and by the way, EPA says you have until X date to replace that. Okay, I know how that conversation is going to go. Okay, I'm sure EPA knows how that conversation is going to go. Okay, We will address that after the 24th, after October 2024. Hopefully, we will have answers in the next several months on that, okay? But until then, we are responsible for creating that inventory as to what lead and copper we have in our entire water system, including the mains, the services between the main and the shut off, and then the shut off to the meter, which is inside the residence. Okay? So there is still quite a bit of work to do. The good part is, for the village of Horseheads, we went through the meter changeout program in 2015-ish. And we have that information to tell us where we are as far as lead and copper on about 80% of the homes in the village of Horseheads. We are far ahead of virtually all the municipalities as far as this lead and copper inventory. There are municipalities that have not even started their inventory between now and then. With us having less than 20% to complete, and by us getting this information out ahead, it gets us more in line with shovel-ready programs, should monies become available to do this, rather than those that have not started at this point. Okay, so what this agreement does is it brings Fagan on board to help us get that final stretch on the lead and copper inventories.
Hey, without excavating, how do they know if it's lead or copper? Without physically digging to the pipe?
So from the main to the shut off,
Yeah,
okay? The only way that you can do it is you got to get down to the service line. Okay, so there are many ways that we can do that. One is a physical dig all the way to open up the entire cavity. The other option is we can test by just doing a pilot hole to the, it's about 5 or 6 inches. Then we can go down and we can test it in that version, okay? One of EPA's suggestions for the resident at the meter is to go to the meter and take a picture of them putting a magnet on the pipe. And if the magnet stays, it's this material. If the magnet falls off, it's another material. I don't know how we're going to view 6,400 videos to watch this test, but we'll figure that part out. But it is evasive. Now, with the WIA grant that we've just finished up, okay, we've been recording what service lines have been replaced. When a break occurs on our side of the shutoff, we've been replacing it so that it's not lead and copper. So we've been documenting that. When there has been a leak on the resident side of the shutoff, we've asked to get that information by the contractor. When we go over to shut it off and turn the water back on, we have conversation with the contractor. Make sure you're not replacing it with a lead line or a copper line.
thank you.
I think this is what, in my prediction, what's gonna happen is there's gonna be a mandate. There's not gonna be enough funds for everybody to accomplish the mandate. And it's gonna be a competitive environment for us to have to fight with every other water system in the nation to make sure that we don't put this on our residents. And I applaud the water department, Donnie, all that have been a part of this we know that sadly, we get government mandates to do things and then there's a fight to make sure that we're not the one paying for it. And this is a way of getting ready for the fight. And I appreciate the proaction of the water department and the village for that. Any questions?
No.
Resolution, please.
Protection Agency issued revised rules in 2021 regarding lead and copper water service lines. Said rules apply to the village of Horseheads water system. And whereas in August 2023, the New York State Department of Health issued service line inventory guidance. And whereas the EPA and the Department of Health regulations require the development of a service line inventory to determine the existence of lead service lines or the lack thereof. And whereas village manager Nathan Mangle has consulted with Fagan engineers and land surveyors, PC, regarding their assistance in complying with the rules relative to completion of a water service line inventory to facilitate the village's compliance. Now therefore be it resolved, the village manager Nagel is authorized and directed to enter into an engineering service agreement with Fagan regarding the service line inventory at a cost of $9,800. Completed on before September 1st, 2024. A copy of said agreement shall be placed on file with the village clerk.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Goodman.
Aye.
Trustee Gross.
Aye.
Trustee Crosman.
Aye.
Trustee Cronin.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye. Next is the manager's report. Nate?
Just a couple of quick items, in regards to the WIA contract that we have, substantial contract work is completed. What remains will be restoration that cannot be done at this time of the year. So they'll be coming back in the spring to do that work. We have held back retaining monies for that to take place. The overall project was just over the $5 million mark for completion. And then from here, once we make these final payments, we will start working on the bond work to pay back the $2 million out of this $5 million. Again, this WIA project was slightly over $5 million. $3 million of that was by grant award through the state. The second item I have is regarding our budget meetings. We'll start those budget meetings either the last week of February or the first week of March. Unlike past years where we have performed budget meetings on Mondays and Thursdays, we will just go to straight Thursdays at 6 o'clock, and we will run those through, like I said, either the last week of February or the first week of March, and we will run those through to the end of April as need be. Once again, just as a reminder, we need to pass the budget prior to May 1. Okay. More than likely, at the February board meeting, we will bring resolution for the tax cap override, as we've done in past years as well. So that will be an agenda item for the discussion on that particular night. In the meantime, please share with me any projects, any concerns that you have that for consideration as we head into the budget season, so that I can look at those concerns, discuss those concerns with the department heads, so we can get it either worked into their work plan or to work into their particular budget if it is a department issue. If it's not a department issue, then, we can put dollars to those to those suggestions, to those concerns, to those projects, whatever they are, so that we can go into the budget season with all that in place. But again, not looking at going Mondays and Thursdays instead of going the last half of March through April. What I'm looking at is starting the budget season earlier and going just on Thursdays. So it's still going to be that 10 to 12 meetings on the budget. Okay, been a process that we've always done as far as going line by line, both on the revenue side and on the expense side. Okay. And those are the only two items that I have for this evening.
Any questions for the manager?
Thank you, man.
All right, next we resume audience participation. At this time, I welcome any person in attendance to approach the podium. If you so wish, provide us with your name and address. As a reminder, this is for public comment and not a dialogue with the Board of Trustees. Additionally, the board asks to limit your comments to a maximum of 3 minutes.
This is this.
I have a couple of minutes, so it's gonna take about 5, if that's okay, nobody else is gonna be signing up.
Okay. That's what he's saying.
You get this, man.
Yeah.
Good evening, board members and residents in attendance. My name is Sean Hathaway, I'm a resident of the village of Horseheads, I live on Camden Head. I'm attending the Horseheads Village meeting tonight to voice several concerns. The following are concerns about the recent operations and refusal of public services along with the complete mistreatment of the local veterans organization. I want to be clear, I'm not here to represent the organization, but as I said, I'm concerned excuse me, about the misrepresentation of the person presenting a letter to the village offices and those offices acting on this letter. Number one, the village police acting outside the color of law. On two different occasions, 11/22 and 11/30, the Horseheads police came to the Veterans Club. They told the leadership officers they had been trespassed and had to turn over the keys to the building. They had no legal standing to do so. New York State Penal Law, section 140.05, trespass. A person is guilty of trespass when he or she knowingly enters or remains unlawfully in or on premises. The element in question of trespass here are the plaintiffs or complaining party, ownership or control of the property. The person asking the police to trespass the officers did not have authority, ownership, or control of the property. Meaning the officers had no right to enforce a trespass complaint or ask anyone to leave, especially after seeing the posted boards on the wall. On both occasions, I talked with the police about the rules set forth by the National Committee, excuse me. I also explained to law enforcement officers, this is an internal policy dispute and there's no need for law enforcement. Person who delivered the letter to the police has bragged openly that they have many friends in the village police department and elected officials. The document given to the village offices was fraudulent and was entirely untrue. I believe, as do many other members of this club, that was done only due to the friendship of the person relaying the information to the police department and the elected officials. Once the village police entered the building, there are boards posted on the wall as state and order the officers voted on by the membership. The officers looked at the board and ignored it. Person filing the complaint was not at the top of this board and had no right to trespass anyone from the premises. They stated the Chemung County Club wrote a letter stating the same. I personally told the officers the county has no standing. This is an internal policy. This is a section of the handbook that covers the policy. I clearly stated the policy and let them read the policy. The officers stated on 11/22, they wanted the building closed to avoid further problems. For the officers to state they wanted us to close the club for the evening not only cost the Veterans Club money, but sent many veterans home to spend the night before Thanksgiving by themselves, which is the main reason I'm here. The entire event was not only a waste of resources, but placed the entire village residents' safety at risk as they remained there for at least 1 hour and should have been providing much needed essential services elsewhere. Number two, on 11/30, I was called at my place of employment and advised the village police were at the club again and had escorted out the commander and escorted him out of the building. This stemmed from the same fraudulent letter given to them on 11/22. I left work and went to the club to speak with the officers. I advised the officers again, this was not a law enforcement problem and was an internal policy issue. We called the 6th district commander, which is in charge of the 10 surrounding counties, and he also told them the same. This should end the issue. I would expect the local elected officials to provide training or guidance for the village police department regarding the complaint process. Just handing the police a letter does not mean it is accurate and invalid and should not be the sole condition or reason to act in such a manner. Does not seem like the village police were acting in a manner to, it does seem like the village police were acting in a manner to help the friend/person giving them said letter instead of following the law. Moving forward, I would ask the village police check with the commander or corporation leader before acting on any letters given to them. They may also visit any of the monthly meetings that are held the second Monday of every month at 7 p.m. if they have any further questions. Problem number 3, the village clerk not providing public services to a local business. The village clerk or clerk's office was given a letter by a person who has bragged openly that they have many friends in the village police department and elected officials. This document was fraudulent and was entirely untrue. Because of this letter being provided to the clerk or clerk's office, the Veterans Club has had to prove who was in charge or overseeing the processes. This has caused extreme hardship and many hours of extra work. For those of you who do not know, the veterans running this club do so in a volunteer capacity, and this is completely unacceptable. This letter should never have been accepted, and the clerk or clerk's office should cease from delaying any paperwork or payments moving forward. Not only is this a simple request, but the state's comptroller, along with the New York State Senate, has set forth specific laws that must be followed by all village clerks and clerks' offices. If this continues, I will contact them next. I will provide an example. I'm a member of the Horseheads Moose Club. If I provide a letter saying I am now in charge, will the clerk's office make the Horseheads moose prove otherwise and interrupt their normal business practices? Will the village police go and trespass members? This seems to be impractical, immoral. It does not serve the public or local business interest. Excuse me. Seems to me the above village offices are being used as a weapon against residents, veterans, and or local businesses. Once again, I want to reiterate, I'm not here on behalf of any club or business, but as a resident of the village of Horseheads. The above has enraged me, if you can't tell. If it can happen to them, who is next? You are the elected officials. We, the people, expect not only protection under the law, but common sense judgment and equal treatment. We do not expect the village offices to be used as weapons. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mark Terpololi, 702 Sayre Street. I want to commend the DPW for the fine job they did in my neighborhood in keeping the streets clean. I was up at 6 a.m. digging out just a couple neighbors were. However, this is the first time in 6 years the parking lot at Sayre and Thorne Streets was not cleaned yesterday. Consequently, you had cars that were parked too close to Thorne Street, trying to just normal traffic, and they could not get into the parking lot. I think we did a disservice to my fellow residents in not having that clean. With it being a day off Sunday, that place, I've never seen it packed like that in the wintertime. Cars could not get anywhere to park. The entrance was blocked for people to get down there with their kids. I would just ask that next time that they clean the streets, how about cleaning the parking lot? 2 plows went by, plow up, never touched that parking lot. It created a little bit of a dangerous situation with kids all over the place, cars coming down there, but the cars that would park in that lot could not get close enough to the fence because of this. I would just ask that the next time, get the lot cleaned out, please. It would, it was a fun time for everybody yesterday, but not a safe time at that point.
Mark, real quick, was that just the section,
By
along
my
Thorne
house.
Street? Okay,
By my-
right there at Thorne Street and Sarah?
Yep.
Okay.
Done.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Anybody else? Since there's no more in-person comments, I welcome anyone attending the meeting via Village's Zoom meeting to address the board. Okay. Moving on to the mayor and trustee comments.
Nothing from me. Thanks, Mayor.
Mayor, the neighborhood watch is gonna be January 30th at 7 p.m. Please tell your neighbors, please come. We have a showing of not a lot of people. And Sergeant Rose puts a lot of time in it along with Dave Reynolds. And our police chief is here tonight, Chief Suey. I've always said it can happen here, and it did happen here with the bond making across the street. So please come and share your thoughts and bring your neighbors, please. And again, it's January 30th at 7 PM.
Is that located right here?
It's right here. Thank you. Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Trustee Gross,
Nothing.
trustee Skrosnick.
No comment, thank you.
I would like to, this was a busy month. I'd like to thank Kelly Cook, Christina Jackson, our village staff for an amazing job at Holiday in the Square. That was packed beyond belief. Truly an amazing event that shows what the power of community involvement, as it was planned by the lion's share of it was planned in conjunction with the village, but how community outreach can make a positive impact and what it can do for our businesses, as they were all packed that night. It was amazing to see. Holiday parties I attended, Masonic Lodge did a free hot dog luncheon with Mr. and Mrs. Claus, absolutely wonderful. The Historical Society had a wonderful holiday Christmas holiday party, and also really bringing home the holiday spirit was the Santa sightings by our fire department. Miraculous job. I mean, I have words, and yes, thank you. I mean, for them to cover nearly every single street in the village, I was able to witness it from the comfort of a heated cab of a fire truck. Santa and the Grinch did not have the same luxuries. And I only feel bad for Santa, not the Grinch. But nonetheless, to see the goodie bags, I mean, I watched, and to see our volunteer fire departments just keep running out and giving goodie bags as everybody was along the street. It's very rare to say the following: great things happen from COVID. That was one of them. And it is a true treasure of this village. And I wanted to thank the fire department and everybody supporting the fire department coming out. It was amazing. I also wanted to comment, I was here for Officer Ryan's first day. He started on the Christmas Eve day. Merry Christmas. And it was great to see him and see him on his first day in action, and we thank him for joining the force. And that's all I have. With that being said, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I make the motion, we adjourn.
I'll second that motion, Mayor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone, for attending.